ReefBum is sponsored by Bulk Reef Supply and Ecotech Marine. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. So in this video I want to give an update on the 187 gallon display tank. But before I do that, if you want to help support the channel and pick up some SPS frags, you can do so at reefbum.com. Now with that, let's get into the video. So about 4 months ago when I last did an update on this display tank, I was bumming out. I had a lot of this green cyano on the rocks in the display tank. I also had some red cyano on the bottom on the substrate, and even in a couple of the frag tanks connected to the display tank. So I have done a couple of things since then to try to combat the cyano. And fortunately, a lot of the cyano, especially the green cyano, is gone. So the first major thing that I had done was to gradually remove the sand bed. And I did that over a couple of months. Just like every week when I was doing my weekly water changes, I would siphon out a little part of the sand bed. And I don't know, I've said this before, I keep pretty sloppy sand beds, are not very pretty. So I don't know, I've had such great success with the bare bottom tank and my Peninsula tank that I thought that that was the way to go for this tank. And it's made it much easier to remove the detritus in this tank, which I think really does help in the fight versus cyano. The other thing that I've been doing is every other day taking a power head and blowing on the rocks. So blowing whatever little cyano is on the rocks, blowing some of that detritus off the rocks, and getting it into the water column so the mechanical filtration can help remove it. I even put in a polishing filter for a few hours, and that really does seem to help a lot as well. So yeah, over time I have really tried to put in the elbow grease to combat this cyano and the algae in that tank. The other thing that I had done was I had been dosing a lot of phosphate, especially a lot of phosphate, and a good amount of nitrate. So I tried to lower all that stuff in terms of the dosing when I was dosing to the tank, and I was successful. I pretty much gradually got it down to dosing nothing in terms of the phosphate and the nitrate, which I thought would help in that battle with the cyanobacteria. But what happened was my coral started to fade, and that's not a good thing. So I gradually brought the phosphate dosing and the nitrate dosing back up to close to where they were before I started bringing it down. And so I was afraid that the cyano would start to come back when I increased the dosing, but it has not, fortunately, knock on wood. I still have very, very low phosphate in the system, but the corals are happy, the colors are looking really good on my SPS. So I know there is phosphate in the system, it's just getting taken up very, very quickly. So I'll probably increase the phosphate dosing a little bit more. I've got close to 0 phosphates in my Peninsula tank as well. So it just seems like my systems are consuming a lot of phosphate. So I've just, I just got to be careful. I got to kind of find that that perfect balance in terms of dosing and not having the cyano come back. The other major thing that I've done with this tank is I replaced the Halides and T5s with the GHL Mitras, and I've been running the Mitras for about 6 weeks, and it's been fantastic. I don't know, about two months ago, so maybe 6 weeks ago, the tank started to kind of turn around. When I was doing a lot of the blowing of the cyano off the rocks, I was also blowing some of the cyano off of the sand bed when I did have the sand bed. And I don't know, maybe that was not a good thing, because perhaps there was a lot of things getting released into the water, some unwanted things getting released into the water. And my SPS were not particularly happy. Even my Alveopora, Goniopora, Duncan corals were not fully extended. But since the sand bed is out and since I've stopped blowing, all of that stuff around, things have really perked up. And it kind of coincided when I started using the GHL Mitras, and the spectrum that I'm using on the Mitras is the same exact spectrum I'm using on my Peninsula tank, which is something that is close to, not mimicking, but close to the spectrum of 400 watt 20K Halides. So I don't know, I'm really happy that with the switch from the Halides to the Mitras. I know that's something I never thought I would ever say years ago, but I'm certainly a convert. I think it helps also in terms of the heat on the whole entire system. You know, we've had some kind of hot and humid days lately, and typically, you know, my chiller would turn on that system with the Halides running. It has not since. So overall, I'm really pleased where the tank is at right now. It's been about 8 months since I've added Frags to the tank, and you know, there was some ups and downs, what I talked about before in terms of lack of polyp extension from the SPS Frags, but all of those have rebounded really nicely. I did mention that I haven't gotten rid of all the cyano, but man, I made some big progress on it. So I'm gonna just kind of keep doing what I've been doing, which is blowing detritus off of the rocks and the little cyano that's still on the rocks, get it into the water column, remove it via mechanical filtration. I still have, you know, some red cyano and a little green cyano in a couple of the connected frag tanks. Well, one of the larger frag tank especially. It's not terrible. I mean, I could certainly live with it. I'm not going to do anything drastic like hit it with chemicals at this point in time. I just don't think it's necessary. This is not a plague proportion in terms of what I have in terms of cyano. So I think I'm just going to stay the course and keep doing what I've been doing. So that's an update on the tank. And if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Until next time, be safe and be well. Later.